Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Want to welcome back to the program the co-host of the Politics of Everything contributing editor at the New Republic, Alex Pareene. Hello, Alex. It's been a long time since you and I seen each other because I think at one point I had COVID and then I was sick or whatever it was. I don't know what.
I just assumed you were mad at me.
So. I mean, I blamed you for my COVID.
Yeah, no,
we hadn't seen each other, but I thought it was quite a coincidence. So let's, but it's great to catch up. It's been a sort of a crazy week. I had totally forgotten that we had a new senator appointed at the beginning of the week, and I don't even know if we're going to get to that.
Yeah, I don't even. Like that was this week, right? I like.
This is like as Donald Trump gets closer to the center of like the actual politics that are going on, the more this is happening. I think I get the sense that we're getting back into that phase, which is terrifying to me. Mm-hmm. But let's start with that. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Kevin McCarthy is no longer Speaker of the House, and
right.
It is. I mean, I think there was a sense that was sort of inevitable 9 months ago. I think there were people who were surprised that he lasted that long.
Yeah.
They have done nothing. I mean, even on the sort of like
speaker, they did that.
Well, they've done that, but they did nothing. Like even in like the committee hearings and stuff on like that, nothing. Yeah. Nothing sort of like stuck on some level. I don't know. Give me your sense of like what we just witnessed this week, anyways, and then we'll talk about where it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because it was. Like on the one hand, just a completely bizarre thing to happen, a bizarre week, historically, practically unprecedented. But then, as you say, this is kind of an ending I feel like I could have predicted a few months ago, right? Like we could have seen an ending approximately like this. And what has been notable is really just like how little, it's not just how little they accomplished, because there was not really any hope of them accomplishing anything, but it's kind of like you said, like even just how little noise that this majority has made, like what they've, like how little they've done in general in terms of, steering the national conversation or manufacturing scandal or anything like that. Like it's just been a huge waste of time for everyone, essentially, ending now in this sort of really absurd situation. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's an impossible. I mean, obviously it's an impossible job, but I have no clue what can possibly happen next with these dynamics.
What's fascinating is, and maybe, maybe I have the incentive structure wrong here, and maybe something's changed, but if you think back to the last Congress, Pelosi had similar margin of error, essentially, right? 5 votes maybe to waste. And there was trillions of dollars in spending that were passed. There was, I guess an impeachment early on I forgot about that, but there was an impeachment that took place in the wake of January 6th. There was, a lot of stuff got done within that margin. Now, maybe because you did have the Senate, and it made the importance of passing things that much more urgent, right? Like there was a consequence to passing legislation in the House. And obviously the past 9 months, there hasn't been, but it seems to me that could cut both ways. Like, it's really just like, you pass stuff in the House, even if it's not going to pass in the Senate, so you can create these statements. They've done very little of that, but really it's this sort of like inability to use what control they had of like these oversight committees to create any type of narrative. There is so many different incentive structures for the Republicans, and in part because they really don't want to do anything. And they're freed from that. I mean, as conservatives, fundamentally, they see government as a problem. So they always seem to have this problem when they're in power. I mean, this is
doing government.
Yeah, well, honestly, this is like the sixth Speaker of the House in the past 20 years, maybe more, maybe, I mean, or I should say sixth Republican, leader, I should say, in the House, maybe more for that matter. I mean, it's literally, we're on the brink of the second wrestling coach responsible for the molestation of kids or of wrestlers. I mean, that's pretty impressive in 2 decades.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think once that glass ceiling is shattered, of course, it gets easier for the next one.
Exactly.
That's true.
So,
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, I don't know. It's funny because there obviously are the incentives when you don't have the White House and you don't have unified control of Congress. Yeah, like you have less incentive to have a positive agenda, less incentive to do stuff. But I mean, it's at this point, it's just a reflection of a lack of any sort of agenda, though, because I think that you could say, however chaotic and however nihilistic Republican majorities have been in the past, they've had some sort of agenda they wanted to implement. And it's really hard to even understand what that would be in the current regime, the agenda besides besides reinstalling Trump and like just like sort of ending democracy. But there isn't really an agenda besides that. Like they don't have a thing they want to do with power that I can sort of point to and say, here's what they would like to do. Besides the sort of like authoritarian culture war stuff that they want, that they can sort of accomplish at the state level or with the judiciary.
I mean, what you've just said would, I think, in any other circumstance, be considered a little bit facile, or facile, if you will, except for the fact that they literally have no party platform.
No,
like the last time around, they literally just said
whatever Trump says. Yeah,
we're with Trump.
We don't really care. Yeah.
I mean, the Ukraine stuff is really the only thing that they're kind of coalescing behind, but they're not coalescing.
The vast majority of the Republicans
want it. They're just, those are the ones being silent right now. I mean, like there is, I think, some effort by some, like the Gates faction or whatever, to make this more of a thing. But the Republican Party is always going to line up behind more funding for like their donors or whatever, or more contracts, I should say, for their donors, like the military, like the Boeing or whatever. They want more military funding as well. So like they're eventually, I think that Ukraine funding will get passed. But the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden impeachment thing, that's what they're trying to make politically salient. And it's actually actively terrible and might be hurting them. I would say hurting them more than helping them, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's been, I would agree with your assessment, Emma, where I think that the politics of it are like not actually good for them, but they're kind of just stuck on this road. We're seeing like, I think this paralysis is partly just because they like you say, there's always been this sort of tension between what the sort of donor class wants and what the populist grassroots wants. But no one's like steering the boat right now, it feels like to me, right? So even on this like Ukraine stuff, it just seems like no one's like at the tiller. And I think we're just seeing like we're really just seeing flailing, like sort of as a result. Like it's not even a sort of coherent war for the soul of the Republican Party. It's just kind of a bunch of people with agendas that are mainly personal out for themselves.
Yeah, it is amazing how like sort of the Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene thing has sort of, got pushed off the front page, if you will, because now everybody hates Gates, and they're also like coming after Nancy Mace now, because, and which, I'm all for.